Sadie and I sat down quietly among Mrs. Lancaster's relatives, who were glaring at us. Why are we here exactly? Just wait for it. It's gonna be fun.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are gathered here today for the reading of the late Mrs. Lancaster's will, who was a woman of remarkable character and…
Blah, 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 snooze fest. Get to the good part, man.
Upon careful examination of the will, it is clear that Mrs. Lancaster has left her entire fortune worth $10 million to one individual, Miss Sadie.
There was a stunned silence, then Sadie burst into tears. Oh my God, I'm shocked. What have I done to deserve this? Other than being her only friend for the last 2 years, still, you can't put a price on love. Not even $10 million. But I'm so touched. Suddenly, Mrs. Lancaster's relatives ran towards the lawyer, yelling at him, tearing his shirt, and throwing his files across the room, while Sadie turned to me and grinned. Hi, I'm Chloe, and before I explain what happened here, please like and subscribe. My older sister and I were 2 years apart, and nothing alike. Sadie was beautiful with her blonde hair and blue eyes, while I had dark, messy hair, and my eyes were the color of poop. I was shy and introverted, but Sadie craved attention, and she knew how to get it. Like once when we were attending a friend's birthday party, Sadie started to cry right before the cake cutting. What's wrong, sweetie?
Oh, I'm sorry. It's just that I haven't had a birthday party since my mom fell sick, and there's no cure.
What's wrong with Ow! Oh, you poor darling. Why don't you cut this cake? Go on, make a wish. Or the time she knew she was about to lose the art competition to a more talented kid, so she threw herself on the ground and started having a pretend seizure, from which she recovered fully after a minute.
Oh, this happens when I haven't slept or eaten for days. I've just been working so hard on this art piece.
And the judges gave her the award instead. Growing up, it felt like the spotlight always followed my popular sister while I lived in the shadows, which I really didn't mind. I loved taking pictures and was the happiest behind my camera lens with Sadie as my favorite muse. And even though Sadie loved herself the most, I was a close second.
What do you mean my sister's project isn't good enough? This isn't Harvard, it's just your dumb class.
You don't have space on your party guest list for Chloe? Well, you could get a life and uninvite your mom. Sadie's friend had invited a great band to her party, and I had a blast. Thanks for bringing me, sis. This party's the coolest. This party's a dump, and so is this town. I'll take you to A-list parties when I'm a Hollywood star, Chloe, which is inevitable. I mean, look at this face. It's a moneymaker. My parents owned a small grocery store, and while we weren't rich, we were comfortable. They promised to send Sadie to an acting academy in LA after high school to make some extra money. Sadie started working as a companion to Mrs. Lancaster, a rich old lady in our town. Sadie would often sneak me into her mansion, and I'd spend hours in her library. Life was good, but soon after I turned 16, we woke up to the horrible news one morning that an electrical fire had burned our grocery store to the ground. Your mother and I will have to start looking for jobs. Sadie, we are so sorry, but we can't send you to LA. Surprisingly, Sadie took the news really well. She kept working at Mrs. Lancaster's place for the next few months, till one day she came home with the news that the old lady had passed. Which brings us to the day after, where the lawyer announced that Mrs. Lancaster had left everything to Sadie, and her family started a riot. But she was perfectly calm as we walked out of there. I'll finalize the paperwork with the lawyer later. Hold on, Sadie. You already knew Mrs. Lancaster was leaving you everything, didn't you? It wasn't a hard guess. She didn't love her family very much. I don't think she loved you that much either. I know you did something. Fine. I just encouraged her to make a new will some time ago. But she decided everything herself. She was like 90 and half crazy, Sadie. The last time I saw her, she accused me of stealing apples from her mother's farm. Can you focus on what's important here? I'm a freaking millionaire now, Chloe. We can't take this money. It's not ours. You're right. It's mine. Just think of how much easier I can make things for Mom and Dad. Don't go telling them your stupid theories and let me help them. After that day, our lives just flipped upside down. We moved into Mrs. Lancaster's mansion. My parents started rebuilding their store, and Sadie hired herself an expensive acting coach. Suddenly, we were eating off silver platters and had maids and butlers. And Sadie was ordering dresses from Paris, shoes from Milan, and perfumes from London. I could send you to an amazing private school, Chloe. No thanks. Could you at least let me upgrade your wardrobe? Not interested. Okay, look, a brand new camera. You should start your photography channel. I'll buy you followers to give you a head start. Can you just stop? Sadie, you made an old lady sign over her fortune to you and robbed her family. How do you even sleep at night? Extremely well, on my feather bed and Egyptian cotton sheets. And sometimes, if I can't sleep, I count sheep. But instead of wool, my sheep have dollar bills on them. And instead of jumping on grass, they're jumping on more dollar bills. That helps me sleep like a baby. But I just couldn't accept what Sadie had done, and this created a rift between us. Things really came to a head when Sadie hosted a party one evening where she was showing off a Taylor Swift shoe she'd bought at an auction for $75,000. You need to return that. Sweetie, you sound hysterical. Why don't you take your medication and lie down? No, you need to sell it and return the money to its rightful owners. In fact, we need to return everything. Don't even think about touching the shoe. I'm warning you. Sadie leapt at me, and we ended up in a huge fight till our parents broke us apart. And when we were alone, I ended up telling them everything. My parents were horrified. I don't care what any of you think. I'm over 18, and I'm the legal, rightful owner of this fortune. You want to go back to the life you had? Then go. My parents returned the money Sadie had given them for the store, and we left for our old house that night. The next day, we found out that Sadie had put the mansion up for sale and moved to LA. It broke my heart that things had turned out this way between us. Mom and Dad returned to their jobs, and I wanted to help. I made a website offering my photography services and also started a YouTube channel sharing tutorials. By the time I graduated high school, I was making decent money from both. Soon after, I had my first ever solo exhibition, and for my showstopper, I went to the lake at dawn to capture the sunrise. I was about to take my best photo yet when a loud noise startled me. A boy was kneeling a few feet away, crying loudly.
Eyes, look your last. Arms, take your last embrace. And lips, lips, do something too.
Would you mind going somewhere else, Romeo? I'm trying to work here. The boy turned to me in surprise, and wow, was he a looker.
I'm working here too, babe. I'm an actor and...
Really? I thought you were a madman.
I have an important audition, and this is my usual practice spot.
Fine. I just need 20 minutes here, and I'd appreciate some peace. I turned away to my camera and found the boy posing in front of me. Do you mind?
Not at all, babe. Take as many photos as you want.
I meant, could you move?
An action shot. I like it. What should I do? Maybe a headstand or flex my biceps?
Was he dumb or what? Okay, how about one of you gazing out at the water dramatically? The boy looked out at the water and immediately started crying.
Was that good?
How about one without the ugly crying? Yep, that's perfect.
I'm Blake, by the way. Follow me on Insta at Blake is a Greek god.
Not gonna happen. Good luck and goodbye. The picture with Blake actually turned out amazing, and I was shocked when some art collector at the exhibition offered to purchase it for $5,000. Later that night, I did end up finding Blake the Greek god on Instagram and sent him a message asking if he'd meet me at a cafe. I thought it was only fair that he got a cut from the money.
I just knew you'd reach out to me. I could feel this instant electrical connection between us.
Wow, I feel nothing but regret. Here's the check I promised. See you never.
Oh, come on. A cup of coffee won't hurt. I actually want to hire you for some headshots to send along with my audition tapes to Hollywood.
You want to go to Hollywood?
Of course. I mean, look at this face. It's a work of art.
I guess a cup of coffee won't hurt.
Great. Has anyone ever told you your eyes are the most beautiful brown? They remind me of autumn leaves and hot chocolate.
My eyes are the color of poop.
You really need someone to talk you up, babe. I'm new in town and I have no friends, so I'm happy to stick around and do the job.
He really meant that. He came off vain and silly at first, but he was actually sweet and funny. He'd often accompany me on my shoots and carry around my bags. And his idea of a good time was watching movies at home, eating pizza, and wearing face masks. I should take a picture of that and post it. You look so manly.
Yeah, babe. Real men exfoliate their skin and talk about their feelings.
He felt like the first real friend after Sadie, yet it was so different. Sadie had always overshadowed me, and I'd been fine being my sister's sidekick, but Blake always made me feel like the main character, and slowly, I found myself falling for him. One day, as I was editing some photos in my studio, Blake burst in and spun my chair around.
We're going to Hollywood, babe.
What?
A big producer loved my audition tape, and he's casting me in his new movie. Turns out, he was also looking for a photographer for the promo stuff, and I recommended you.
That's amazing! I'm so happy for you!
For us.
And suddenly, his face turned serious.
You already know that I'm not well off and Dad's in a wheelchair. His mom used to live in this town, but Dad was in the army and he was posted abroad, so we haven't been able to visit in years. She died 2 years ago, and my family was gonna inherit her wealth, which could have really helped us after Dad's injury. But apparently, Grandma's caregiver tricked her into giving her all her fortune.
My blood ran cold at his words.
It's been tough, and sometimes I've thought about just giving up the Hollywood dream. But it looks like things are finally turning around, and you're my lucky charm, Chloe. I think I'm in love with you.
He pulled me close and kissed me, but it felt terrible. I know, right? Me too. What's your grandma's name?
Mrs. Lancaster, you okay, babe? Did my kiss take your breath away?
It sure did. I tossed and turned all night. How could I tell Blake that my sister scammed his grandma? And how could I take this job without telling him? But the job was such an amazing opportunity, I couldn't let it slip away. Finally, I decided the only thing to do was to go to Hollywood, meet Sadie, and talk her into giving Blake's family the money. Before I knew it, Blake and I were in Hollywood and starting our first day on set. He got dragged away for hair and makeup. So I wandered around and started taking some pictures when a familiar face appeared in front of my lens. Sadie? Chloe? What are you doing here? What are you doing here? I work here. Also, my Hollywood name is Sunday. I work here too. I'm the official photographer. Just then, Blake walked over.
Hey, babe, I see you've met the heroine. She's a rising star in Hollywood, and I'm really excited about working together. But don't get any ideas, Sunday. The movie romance is fake, 'cause this heart is taken.
This was getting so much worse. Of course, I'd meant to meet Sadie, but I hadn't planned on Blake meeting her, let alone working on the same movie. The next few weeks were so difficult. I had to watch my sister doing romantic scenes with my boyfriend, after which they would be whisked off for interviews. And anytime I tried catching Sadie alone, she managed to slip away. So one day, I hid in the trunk of Sadie's car and followed her right to her apartment. I need to talk to you. Unless it's an apology, I don't want to hear it. Fine, it's an apology. Once I was in, I turned to her furiously. Of course it's not an apology. Sadie, you have to give back Mrs. Lancaster's money to her family. Oh my God, that again? You're worse than their family lawyer. Do you know who Blake is? He's Mrs. Lancaster's grandson. What? What does he know? That his grandma's caregiver tricked her and took all the money. But he doesn't know that's you, my sister, his lovely co-star Sunday. Just then, there was a knock on the door. My yoga instructor's here. You need to leave. I had no choice, but this conversation wasn't over. When I returned to my hotel room, I found Blake sitting on the bed with his bags packed. Hey, what's going on?
I think you butt-dialed me by mistake when you were meeting your sister, Sunday. No, Sadie, right? The person who took Grandma's money?
Blake, listen.
How could you not tell me?
I really wanted to, but then I thought...
You thought you'd keep quiet, use me, and take this job?
No, of course not. I came here to talk to my sister, to make her return your money. You have to believe me.
No, I don't. I wish I'd had the sense to record the conversation, but I'm not a schemer like you two. I won't work with her now, so I'm going home.
You can't do that. This is an opportunity of a lifetime.
And some things are more important than money. You wouldn't understand that.
Blake left, and I was devastated. I tried to calm down, but I felt panic rising in my chest. First, my sister left me, and now the guy I loved. I couldn't stop crying, and I was struggling to breathe. Suddenly, I felt dizzy, and I blacked out. When I opened my eyes, I was in a hospital bed with Sadie beside me. Oh, thank God you're awake. What happened? I came to talk to you and found you unconscious. Blake found out everything and left. I think I just had a bad panic attack. Suddenly, Sadie started crying. Chloe, I would never intentionally hurt you, and I've missed you terribly. What hurt the most was knowing you thought I was evil. Yes, I pushed Mrs. Lancaster to make a new will, but she always said her only son hadn't visited in years, and the rest of her family were vultures. Those people didn't deserve the money either, trust me. You're still justifying what you did? I'm telling you now, Blake's family needs the money. How can you be sure he isn't lying? Are you sure he's even Mrs. Lancaster's grandson? I can't talk to you anymore. Just leave, Sadie. Listen, Chloe, no, go away. The next day on set was a mess. The producer was frantically trying to get in touch with Blake, but he wouldn't answer anyone's phone calls. I was sitting miserably in a corner when suddenly I got a phone call from Dad.
Chloe, I know this is a lot to ask, but can you come home? A friend of mine has offered me an amazing opportunity to manage a huge grocery store, but it's in Texas, and I need all the help I can get. I know this is your dream job, but...
That sounds amazing, Dad, and of course I'll help. I'll take the next flight home. As I hung up, I turned around to see Sadie behind me. You're leaving? Yeah, Dad needs my help with work. Listen, if Blake doesn't come back, they'll find a replacement soon, and this movie will be up and running in no time. You can't give up this job. It'll be so great for your career. You know what, Sadie? I can't believe I ever looked up to you or thought you cared about me. I hope your successful career keeps you warm at night, but I'd rather stay close to the people I love. And with that, I went back home. I helped my parents pack up to move, and one evening, I was carrying a box to our car when I bumped into someone. I looked up to see that it was Blake. I wasn't expecting to see you here. You haven't answered any of my calls.
Yeah, I was really angry. But then Sadie reached out to me. In fact, she's inside your house right now talking to your parents.
Sadie is here? What did she say to you?
She apologized for everything and was giving me a check for $10 million, but I told her to keep half. She did take care of Grandma. Then she begged me to come back to the movie because all the new candidates are ugly and don't look good with her.
That sounds like Sadie.
She also told me that you were never okay with her taking the money and that she's been a terrible sister to you.
I should have told you everything before.
I should have given you a chance when you tried, and I'm really sorry. Listen, Sadie is giving some money to your parents so they can hire help for their business, and you don't have to go with them and give up on something you're really good at. Is there any chance you'd go back with me to Hollywood as my girlfriend?
I can think about it. If you beg and grovel and give me a foot rub every day and forever.
Sure, but can I give you a kiss first, babe?
If you insist. Before that, may I hug you, sis?